Let's talk about propaganda now. I've spoken about it before. Being a communications person, having been in this industry for 25 years, it's really important that we understand that propaganda is not just a historical relic or a state only, government only instrument. It is embedded in the architecture of modern brand communications, especially digital communication. So, understanding how it works is absolutely not an option for us who are creators, brands, businesses who are in charge of the communication. So, we're going to talk about propaganda being a brand tool in this video, in this episode of Serena's Playbook. As usual, I'll bring my background of comms and media, having been in it for 25 years, as well as my systems thinking background to level up your strategic thinking. So let's look at the word propaganda. It's a technique. It definitely has history. There are mechanics there. There is a logic there. Brands use it. It's a powerful tool, whether you know it or don't. The question is, though, can you spot it? Can you spot it? Because there are certain patterns that you absolutely can pick up and perhaps choose to implement in your own communications for completely good and ethical reasons. Repetition is actually a very powerful way to not only produce like a mantra, but it's to instill a belief in somebody and not necessarily a truth, a belief about something. We see this in politics all the time. It does this thing, it's called priming somebody or priming people, and it's helpful to do it before you present any kind of an argument. And so you're kind of emotionally priming your audience with repetition, with these different devices. And really, what you're doing is you are ensuring that you're framing it all, framing this content within this pattern of communication. So you're going to repeat something, you're going to emotionally prime and you're going to produce meaning for people. This happens all the time. uh, Innocent, so-called innocent slogans, because she's worth it. I mean, how many times did we hear that? Because she's worth it. So there's that bit. Then there is the sort of specific, recognizable parts of digital brand communications. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, it's an unintended or intended consequence of digital communications. Algorithms absolutely reward this sort of emotional contagion, this continual, perpetual emotional reaction to everything. And brands know how to master this and they become very effective at it. And so it becomes like propaganda. So, whether they call it that or not, how many times have you seen a luxury brand choose to do that thing, culturally appropriate? And they will allow the emotional reaction, the contagion, as I just mentioned, just spread across channels. They're tagged in everything. There are some other culprits, quite controversial culprits within music. I'm sure Kanye West is somebody who deliberately uses this in quite controversial and even despicable ways. There are many. And remember, I'm not attached to any artist or any guru or any, take me to your leader. I'm not that way inclined, so I won't give you that kind of bias. So there is this unfortunate pattern within the algorithm on every platform that rewards emotional responses, that rewards that kind of noise. And when it's perpetual, it becomes effective, and there you go, propaganda. Um, Influencers also provide this sort of infrastructure, this method, this constantly available medium for advocates that can distribute narratives and managed narratives through their own parasocial relationships with their own audience. It's a very effective tool to deliver messages, to deliver narratives, to deliver agendas. It's very efficient as a delivery mechanism, this influencer infrastructure. It's not just, oh, this is just how. It's never just social media. It's never just digital comms. It's never just influencers. It's an entire system to influence, and influence in a way that essentially has people choosing against their better judgment. Um, Crisis communications is also largely about sort of a narrative suppression. So it's about suppressing certain narratives, suppressing certain messages, pushing other messages and other narratives. And it's kind of cloaked as being transparent or accountable, but it's really honestly being quite calculating, uh, to sort of pick and choose and highlight. And there's a reason why earlier writers about public relations, and I remember doing a review on Edward Bernays and how much of the sort of psychological side, manipulative propaganda side feeds this industry of public relations. What does this mean for you as a practitioner, a communicator for your brand and business? Now, either you're going to use these tools consciously, ethically, perhaps you're doing them without thinking, and you're putting them to good use. Unfortunately, there is not exactly, I don't think, a neutral position in communications when it comes to choosing, selecting, and then actually executing that strategy. You've got to be very honest with yourself as a practitioner and say, okay, so this is where I'm probably very subjective, and look, and I've got to be honest about my objective here. What is it that I am seeking? And is it fair? Is it just for the bottom line? Am I being ethical? I mean, you've got to have your own code of ethics, of course. But I think communications for anyone, whether it's a personal or a professional entity, requires the recipient to do something that they previously hadn't chosen to do, they hadn't decided to do. They're being convinced to do something different or to maintain them in a position. And that tool, unfortunately, is used to people's detriment. It's used in a sort of a personal capacity as well. And so then you've got to be very clear about what your worldview is, what the worldview of the communication piece is. Is this really for inclusivity, or is this to favor more volatility? Is this to beat the competition, but do you want to beat the competition down as well? Like, you've got to be very clear. How are you maneuvering, or how are you moving, right? And again, it's very helpful for us when we are practitioners and we are thinkers about considering how power is operating within that system that we are communicating. Because brand communications is one of those systems that has proximity to power depending on how influenced or how influential you are. That's the word. So you've got to understand the infrastructure that you're working inside. If you are working for a pretty major brand that has a lot of clout, there's a lot of power to influence. Who are your shareholders? Who is essentially going to be benefiting from the bottom line, from the deliverables of that campaign? Who's going to be benefiting from it? And so it's really important to understand, who are the power structures within my realm? And then which power structure does that feed? Because that can help contextualize for you what the stakes are in this particular uh, instance. That's the word, instance. I really think it's so useful for us as communicators, as practitioners, to understand the mechanics to convince, how others are doing it to us, and how we are using these tools to communicate for our brands and our businesses as creators, as consumers, and hopefully use it for good, for justice, use it for the betterment of humanity. Those are very big goals and very big uh, ambitions. I would say a mission, and it might be that you're just trying to sell detergent, but even detergent would fit within some kind of ethical realm. You know, is it sustainable? Is it healthy in terms of its toxins and, its ingredients? Is it something that is produced in a way where, it's not impacted a natural environment or hasn't been tested on animals? Um, Nearly everything produced, even if it's something so small and inconsequential, it fits in a system, and you've got to understand, okay, this is what I'm feeding, or this is what I'm representing, or this is a very key stakeholder interest within what I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to convince. So I would urge you, as communicators, as creators, as advocates for brands, or as consumers, those who are consuming and being influenced, to just take a step back and to see if you can answer a key question. Which system of power does this brand that is communicating to me, or that I'm communicating on behalf of, which power system does it fit into or sit in? And which power position, which instrument is it serving by me convincing an audience, or me as the audience being convinced? It's just so helpful, and it's so useful as a tool, as a communicator, for you to understand, I've got to do an ethical job here. I've got to be somebody who has integrity and who has much more awareness in what I'm doing. I'm not just doing assembly line stuff. And if I am, let's let's try and reflect on that. So once again, I am here to help you level up your strategic thinking, but let's always try and unpick things here and expand our critical and rational thinking, and hopefully do it in community and in the comment section. I'll see you in the next video.